Hello, I'm Karen Sue Smith, Editorial Director at America Magazine. I'd like to talk to you today about a current comment that I wrote in a recent issue called Primary Colors. You've all seen those charts, maps of the United States that have some states in red and some states in blue. Those can be very helpful, but sometimes they can give the impression that the red and the blue are here to stay, that there's some kind of fact, not just a kind of snapshot or moment in time. Since 2000 at least, those red and blue states have come to mean red as Republican and blue as Democrats, and that's actually a historic switch from how it was in earlier elections even at the beginning of our country. Behind these colors, and this is my real point here, are shades of the various colors. I'm not just talking about purple, which is the same amount of red and the same amount of blue, and we call those states swing states. I'm talking about even strongly red or strongly blue states. And I'm not even talking about just the dots of spots within a state, like the cities or a particular region that might be very red or very blue, even if the rest of the state is some other color. That happens. But what I really mean to say is that political change is taking place all the time. And these colors, if you think of them more as shades, will give you a sense of how alive politics is in our country. So what I wanted to do is just look at one state, and so I picked Arizona, my home state, in which I've had an interest and where we've written a little bit about it in the past in the magazine. And you may know a few things about Arizona, that it has a lot of Hispanic immigrants, that it's been a boom state where the population has doubled over the decades, almost every decade since I can remember. It was hit hard by foreclosures and job loss, all this kind of thing. And it has a few notorious, in some senses, public figures. Governor Jan Brewer, Sheriff Joe Arpaio, that kind of thing. So we think of Arizona as especially red, even though it's just red on the map. Not only that, there's even some change going on in Arizona. Last year, Russell Pierce, who had been the president of the Arizona State Legislature, was recalled in an election. It was a huge upset, and he hoped to win the primary this past summer and make a comeback. But in actual fact, he was defeated, not by opponents this time, but members of his own party who chose someone a little less red. In the U.S. Congress, Ron Barber is the man who won an election to finish out the term of Gabriella Giffords, the representative who had been hurt in the shooting a couple of years before, or a year before. Now he's won the primary and will actually be in a race. He's running against Martha McSally, who's the Republican in that race, for that Senate seat, and if he wins, he'll start the whole term on his own, in his own right. The biggest race, though, is the one that is for the Senate. Arizona has two senators right now, both Republicans, John McCain and Jon Kyl. And Jon Kyl, who is the minority whip in the Senate currently, is retiring. Jeff Flake seems well positioned to take that seat. He's been endorsed by all the Republicans. He's had several terms back-to-back as a state in the U.S. House of Representatives already. And so he seems like a very strong contender. He's the Republican. But for the first time in many years, the Democrats actually think they have a strong contender too, and they've come up with a candidate named Richard Carmona, who is a Latino physician. He's a decorated Vietnam veteran. He has just the right mix for Arizona to be popular, and he was appointed by former President George Bush as U.S. Surgeon General. So physician, Vietnam vet, and appointed by a Republican. So if he were to win, this would be Arizona's first Democratic senator since 1988. And that would be a huge shift and would actually show up a little bit, changing the color of that state. So my real point is just next time you look at those red and blue maps, think about the various shades going on day by day in those places. This is Karen Smith for America Magazine. Thank you very much.